Good evening. Welcome to day 5 of the Beyond Mindfulness Conference. Mindfulness as a foundation of social transformation. Before we talk about that, I'm going to recap some of the wonderful presentations we saw yesterday, and also let you know about some ways that we can kind of continue this community and continue our exploration of the wonderful practices of mindfulness and compassion together. So again, though, I would really encourage you to, right below where the video is now, to do some posting. Let us know who you are, where you're from. It's always great to see that. I've been posting some questions there myself and responding, and I'll continue to do that tonight and tomorrow over the next couple of days. So please, we love to create this kind of engagement and interactivity with this community, this wonderful community that Maull Mountain Center has worked so hard to sort of gather together. So talking a little bit about last night, the videos from last night are still available for 24 hours. That was day 4, mindfulness in everyday life. And there was a wonderful video from Sakyam Mipam Rinpoche, a short video. There'll be a longer presentation by Sakyam Mipam Rinpoche with the day 5 presentations. But it was a short presentation that opened up last night about running with the mind of meditation. And this whole integration of body, mind, and as many of you know, Sakyam Mipam Rinpoche is a marathoner, really kind of an elite athlete marathoner. He usually starts just kind of behind the professionals in the many marathons that he runs, and he runs these as a fundraiser for rebuilding monasteries in Tibet primarily. So that's a wonderful presentation. Ken Wilber, wow. So, you know, Ken Wilber can be a controversial figure. He's just this brilliant mind. And I think he's read the 4,000 or 5,000 most important books in Eastern and Western culture and kind of has immediate access to them up in his brain all the time. He's embarrassingly intelligent. And so, you know, he's really some challenging models looking at this distinction between waking up, which has more to do with states and with our spiritual practices, and more to do with what's sometimes referred to as absolute truth and the non-dual, and then the idea of growing up, which has more to do with the various developmental structures that we all move through on different lines of development. And he's suggesting that we need to bring these two together, all the wonderful wisdom traditions that have been around for millennia, both East and West, on the practices for waking up and to experiencing these states of liberated mind and so forth, enlightened mind, awakened mind, to really marry that and integrate that with what we know from modern developmental psychology. And in this way, we can really take a deeply integral approach to human development. So some people find Ken's work a little too conceptual, but if you're not turned off by that kind of thing, even if you are, I really encourage you to just jump in as an exploration and watch it, because it really is thought-provoking. It'll get us thinking more clearly, I think, and more deeply about our own practice, whether we agree with those models or not. Acharya Susan Shea gave a wonderful presentation on mindfulness in the workplace, and she has a long career of bringing mindfulness and emotional intelligence and wisdom into the workplace, working in high-level tech companies and many different corporations as a consultant. And she emphasized that not only do we need to train ourselves to be more present, but we really need to work with self-compassion. That self-compassion is really the ground to have the resilience to skillfully communicate with others, be compassionate with others, be ultimately skillful in the workplace, and have a sustainable work life so we're not burning ourselves out. So she emphasized both presence and self-compassion as a ground for developing greater resilience and skillfulness in the workplace. Acharya Dan Hesse, really about learning to trust ourselves, and through the practice of mindfulness, discovering our own innate goodness and developing greater and greater confidence in that, discovering our own innate unconditional worthiness and goodness. And the more we develop confidence in that, it's really what we begin to see in the world around us. We begin to trust our own innate goodness and worthiness, the innate goodness of life, of the world, of others. And this clarifies our vision, and we begin to see the world around us, well, the world within us and the world around us, as worthy, as precious, and the language that we often use in Shambhala, this quality of the sacred, which simply means it's something that's really worthy of our attention and very precious. And so we have a relationship to it of really caring and being awake with it. So tuning into that sacred perception. Christine Caldwell, who's a professor in somatic psychology at Europa University, talking about the importance of body awareness and how that's really important to our learning process altogether, from children in K through 12 education through university, and for all of us as adults, that the research shows that having a greater somatic awareness, actually, it has all kinds of benefits, but in part, one of them is it really improves our capacity for learning. Catherine Kaufman led a wonderful meditation, walking meditation, kind of meditation. I mean, she's talking about walking meditation, but as you're listening to Catherine talk about it, you're seeing video of all these different people doing different styles of walking meditation. So as I was watching that video, the whole thing was kind of like this wonderful meditation in itself. Lama Tsultrim Alioni, wow. It's so interesting to listen to the dialogue with Acharya Susan Shea and Lama Tsultrim Alioni, the history there. For those, I mean, maybe it's only old dogs like myself who are interested in the history, but Lama Tsultrim really was there at the very beginning of this East meets West encounter, especially in terms of Tibetan Buddhism. And she carries with her such a context of the Dharma and of these wisdom teachings. And in particular, really interesting listening to her talk about these, the way she's made the Chud practice, a Tibetan practice, attributed to a female yogi called Machik Labram, making this Chud practice available in a way that's very practical, kind of a modern update of the Chud practice, making it very available for all of us to use to work with basically our obstacles and the places where we're stuck. And then also having the courage to talk about sexuality and all the wounding that there is in our culture around sexuality, and how that's impacting society altogether, and that we could be more brave perhaps about beginning to talk about that. I think I covered everyone there. Really wonderful, wonderful presentations around this whole notion of mindfulness and really bringing mindfulness into everyday life. So before I talk about tonight's presentations, actually, before I do anything else, I think it would be good to do a little practice. So let's just do a little practice together. So if you would, take a good posture. We've been getting lots of instruction throughout the week on how to take a good posture, sitting with that natural dignity, uplifted posture, at the same time relaxed. You can close your eyes if you're more comfortable practicing that way, or you can shift your eye gaze down. And as we've been doing, bring your attention to the contact between your body and the chair or cushion, whatever your seating arrangement may be. And just begin to tune in there to the actual tactile physical sensations. Sort of awakening in ourselves a real interest, a genuine interest and caring and curiosity about our present moment-to-moment experience. And then expanding that awareness throughout the body, all of the actual sensations we feel on the surface of the skin from head to toe, passage of the air across the nostrils or the lips if you have your lips slightly parted. And all the internal sensations as well. The overall weight and mass of the muscles and bones. The flow of nervous energy. Feelings of relaxation or tension in our muscles. Any aches or pains or places of discomfort that might be present. Overall feelings of, feeling energized or perhaps feeling sleepy or a little tired at the end of the day. Just acknowledging what's there and meeting whatever's arising at the level of tactile, physical sensations with just an open curiosity, and trying to relax that fear of discomfort and that addiction we have towards comfort, and just embracing the whole thing. This is my body right now, and this is how it feels. And I can just fearlessly lean into feeling the aliveness in my body. Feeling all of the sense perceptions: sight, sound, taste, smell. It may be a strange expression to talk about feeling our sense perceptions, but there is this quality of feeling them and experiencing them directly without the need for an observer or a watcher, but really dropping into that flow of sensate experience of all the sense perceptions, resting our awareness there and just feeling it, experiencing it directly. And awakening this realization and really valuing this incredible experience of being alive that's occurring breath after breath, that we so much take for granted. And we miss out on the profundity and the sacredness of our moment-to-moment experience because we do take it for granted. So see if we can sort of shake off that taking it for granted for a moment and really be curious and really open to directly experiencing what's arising moment to moment through all of our sense perceptions. As well as the experience of our human heart, all the different layers of emotion, subtle or not so subtle, gladness, contentment, peace, sadness, frustration, anger, whatever might be present, realizing these are all completely normal human emotions, and actually their essence is wisdom. We don't necessarily need to act out on all of our emotions. We can be responsible and conscious about what we act from, but there's no reason to feel bad about any of it. It's all just our shared humanity. And beneath the storylines and the concepts, there's actually wisdom in the energy of all of our emotional experiences. And also willing to feel our cognitive mind, our thinking mind, all kinds of thoughts coming and going all the time. We can be with them, not getting lost in them, not repressing them, just simply experiencing and feeling the energy of our cognitive mind, which at this moment may feel relatively spacious with just a few thoughts coming and going, or it might feel quite busy. And rather than resisting that or having this profession, oh, I want my mind to be clear, we could just experience it as it is and be willing to feel it just as it is. So here we are, ordinary human beings seated on the earth. This is our home. No reason to have any embarrassment about being seated here, connecting with our own humanity, for which we don't need to leave anything out. Nothing needs to be excluded. And really connecting with the innate worthiness and goodness within our aliveness as a human being. And then just giving ourselves deep permission to simply be as we are. Letting go of any need to squeeze into a box of our own making or defined by anyone else, just letting ourselves be. If we're waiting for the world to confirm our okayness, we may be waiting a long time. We can confirm our own unconditional, innate okayness and goodness because we experience it directly. And the great thing is when we really rest in that and have more confidence in that, then the world is confirming it all the time. And that's the way we're experiencing the world too. As Acharya Dan Hesse was speaking about this quality of sacredness, sacred perception. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So before talking about our Day 5 lineup, which is fabulous, and I'd like to talk a little bit about how we can continue. You know, I'm sure amongst this very large global community, some of us are newer to mindfulness practice. Some of us may have been doing it, you know, for 30, 40 years. And but for all of us, ideally, it's always fresh right now, that quality of beginner's mind that Suzuki Roshi, the great Zen teacher, pointed us towards, beginner's mind. So it's always now, and there's always so much more to learn and ways to develop our practice. So how do we continue? So first of all, there's the resource package, which Maull Mountain Center has put together. All the videos from this conference in very high quality, a 3-day retreat with Acharya Dan Hesse, a 7-day meditation challenge with 7 different wonderful mindfulness meditation teachers, and other resources as well. And it's available either so you can be streaming it online or as a flash drive or both. And you know, you can imagine, I know I've been reading all the comments and there's tremendous appreciation among this community for this opportunity Maull Mountain Center has provided all of us to receive these wonderful teachings and to come together as a global community. And as you can imagine, that takes a lot of work. And so I really encourage all of us to consider purchasing the resource package as one way, if we're able to, one way to support the work that Maull Mountain Center is doing, so that Maull Mountain Center can continue to be able to make these kinds of conferences, online events available for free, to reach out to the global community and make these kind of teachings available and this sense of community available to many people who, you know, don't have immediate access to groups and situations and teachers especially. But even for those of us who have that access, it's just so wonderful to come together in this global community. So let's help Maull Mountain Center continue to make these kind of online events available to all of us and to even more for free by supporting them in any way we can. I'd like to offer a special thanks to the partners that have made this event happen. If you're watching me on the website, hopefully if you're on YouTube, please come back, and right above the sort of video box that I'm in, up there is the icons, and you'll see an icon called Partners. So at some point, please click on that icon, and you'll see all the partners that have helped make this event happen: Shambhala Publications, Lion's Roar, Wisdom Publications, Heart Math, Tricycle Magazine, Naropa University, Integral Life, Integral Recovery, Prison Mindfulness Institute, the Engaged Mindfulness Institute, and the Center for Mindful Living. And if you go to that partners page, you'll see them all there. You can click on the logos and that'll take you right to the websites of those organizations. So please take an interest in our partner organizations and support them, because they really were a big part of making this event available to you. A special thank you to some of those partners who also offered some of the gifts, the free gifts that are part of the resource package. So Shambhala Publications, Wisdom Publications, Lion's Roar, and Heart Map all offer gifts that are part of the resource package that you can get either, again, as a download or as a flash drive or both. And again, there's an icon right above here for the resource package, so you can go there to check that out. I want to talk about a wonderful retreat, an event, a celebration, kind of a festival that will be happening at Maull Mountain Center this summer in July with Sakya Mipam Rinpoche and Sean Korn, the amazing yoga teacher and activist. My co-host Angel Kyoto Williams and myself will both be there, and many other senior teachers will be there offering deep dive workshops and meditation training and teachings. It's really going to be a wonderful and powerful event where we'll really be building a community, receiving amazing teachers, and then going through a deep dive together of a lot of actual practice, meditation practice, mindfulness practice, yoga practice, and some deep dive workshops that are really all kinds of integrated work that draw on a lot of different traditions. So that's going to be a fabulous conference event celebration this July at Shambhala Mountain Center. So please check that out. And I believe right now the early bird price is still available for that if you check it out online. And again, there's an icon right above here that says Wisdom in Action. So go there and you can check that out. If you don't have already a place to practice mindfulness and meditation, to receive teaching and guidance and practice, encourage you to check out the Shambhala centers around the world. Again, one of the icons up above says About Us. And there's a lot of information about Shambhala Mountain Center, but also information on how to find out about Shambhala centers near you. And there are Shambhala centers in most of the major and medium-sized cities throughout North America, throughout Europe. There's a number of centers in Latin America. There's centers in Asia, New Zealand, and Australia. So it's a global community. And at any Shambhala Meditation Center, there's always free sittings times during the week. We can go sit for free, and you can also get hooked up with a meditation instructor who will meet with you regularly to give you guidance, and that's all free. And then I also like to talk about the webinar we've been mentioning. I'm going to offer a free webinar called 7 Keys for Mindful Leadership, and that'll happen about a week from now. And it's going to be very interactive, so an opportunity for you to ask questions, and we're going to make it very dialogic, very interactive, using some new webinar technology. So Shambhala Mountain Center is offering that. I'm really happy to be doing that. If any of you participated in a free webinar that I offered in relation to the Awaken the World conference last fall, this is a completely new webinar, completely different, completely new. And it'll also be a time for us just to interact and dialogue and do some Q&A around all of this conference and all of our shared experience with this. So that'll happen about a week from now. It's completely free. And then the Radical Responsibility course, which I mentioned last night, this 8-module, very thorough course that's based on the live seminar that I've been offering all over North America and Europe for the last 15 years. And we filmed an actual Radical Responsibility seminar in Baltimore and turned it into an online course. So it's very experiential, and you'll have the opportunity to go through that with a community if you like, or you can do it on your own at your leisure. So again, you can check that out. The icons up above, Radical Responsibility. There you can find out about the webinar, sign up for that, or for the course. So I think that's all the announcements. Again, I just want to really give a shout out to Shambhala Mountain Center and thank them. There's so many people involved in this thing, but I especially like to thank the Director of Business Development, Kaylee Isaacs, and Ryan Stagg, and many others who've been involved in making this event happen. I feel like we should bring them all on camera now and have them take a big bow. Unfortunately, they're in Colorado and I'm in Providence, Rhode Island. So, but we should all kind of just collectively give them a hand and give Maull Mountain Center a hand, because they did a fabulous job in making this available for all of us. So, presentations for tonight. So again, a longer talk by Sakyam Nipam Rinpoche, a year after the Boston Marathon bombing, which, is something that Sakyam is really connected to, being a marathoner, and talking about meeting challenges with strength and compassion, and how to work with the aggression that we find in the world while staying positive. Tonight's theme is about social transformation. And often when we think about, that, we can very quickly get overwhelmed, or even when we do get out there and get active in some way or another, in the many ways that we do, we can run into compassion fatigue or empathy fatigue and burnout and all these kind of things. So some of the presentations tonight are really about how to cultivate the resilience to get out and get involved in social transformation, and for that social transformation to be sustainable, not just another sort of effort to change things that ends up burning us out. I had the opportunity to do a wonderful dialogue with Rich Fernandez, who was a Director of Executive Education at Google and very involved in the Search Inside Yourself course that was developed there, and the Search Inside Yourself Institute that grew out of that. But he now has his own company called Wisdom Labs, and is very involved in taking mindfulness into Fortune 100, Fortune 500 corporations. And we had a fascinating dialogue about that. And it's broader than just the corporate world, but it really is fascinating in terms of that, bringing mindfulness into that world. I also had the opportunity to do a dialogue with Soryu Foral, the founder of the Center for Mindful Living, and he's doing something that's really fascinating with kind of this modern update of a monastery. It's kind of like a modern urban monastery, and it's just a fascinating idea, and he's doing some really deep work. So I encourage you to tune into that one. Kaylee Isaacs, who's really the person behind the curtain here. I had a wonderful dialogue with Richard Riak, and if you've experienced Richard's other presentations, you know how eloquent he is. And it's titled "The Broken-Hearted Activist." So again, I can't wait to watch that one. And again, it has the quality of how do we get active in the world and keep our heart open and not get burned out. Acharya Dan Hesse and Roger Thiel discuss similar topics along a similar vein, but emphasizing the balance between being and doing. The world tends to be a lot about doing, and we get mainly affirmed for the things we do. And when we get involved in social transformation, we can really get focused on doing. However, our doing is unlikely to be all that transformative if we're not connected with being. So they're having a dialogue about that balance between being and doing. And for most of us in most of the world, it means we need to emphasize being more, because there's such a tilt towards doing in our world. Acharya Galen Ferguson does a wonderful guided meditation. And again, it's about cultivating these qualities of resilience and courage that allows us to step into the world and, become a collective community working towards social transformation without, taking unreasonable burdens on our shoulders and burning ourselves out with some kind of heroic idea, but rather having the natural confidence and natural resilience to just step into the world and work together to create enlightened society. So I think that's it. Oh, and one last, and I'm doing a presentation on engaged mindfulness, which is an emerging movement that's emerging in parallel with this explosion of mindfulness into the mainstream in our society. And so drawing on the wonderful traditions of engaged Buddhism, socially engaged Buddhism, a term coined by Thich Nhat Hanh originally, I'm talking about an emerging movement called engaged mindfulness. So enjoy, and this will be my last time speaking to you directly in this live way, but it's really been a wonderful journey. It continues. I'm looking forward to continuing to watch these videos and interact with you online with your comments over the next couple of days. And then for those of you who get involved in the webinar, the course going even further down the road. But this has just really been a joy for me to do this and to feel part of this global community. So I really thank you all very much for this opportunity to be with you. And I really thank Shambhala Mountain Center for creating this and for allowing me to kind of be their spokesperson here each evening. So thank you all very much, and please jump in and enjoy.